We start off usually the cover the Achsanya that the gracious host Rabbi Schwartz has allowed this as this notion to be the place for the shir. I want to thank Rabbi Schwartz for his generosity in lending his base medrash. Tonight's shir is Tisha B'Av, transforming mourning to joy. The shir is basically going to be a little bit different than the run-of-the-mill shir, Be'ezus Hashem, and it's going to be a little bit more, hopefully taking out from Tisha B'Av a little bit more than what we usually do. Tisha B'Av, I would say, is in Chazal teach us is a moed, and the moed is something that is an appointed time to be for simcha. In other words, it was set aside for simcha. There's great joy that will be one day on Tisha B'Av. Right now there's mourning, and in that mourning there will be joy. So how do we go from continually 2,000 years of mourning and non-stop every single year with there's no real hope that Tisha B'Av is ever going to end? What is it about what we're doing that makes Tisha B'Av a complete reality? Every single year we're going to expect it to come. There's no way that we even think that Tisha B'Av cannot happen in the next year. We say it, but we don't really mean it. So what is it about, what are we doing wrong? So when you have a problem, right, Tisha B'Av is a national tragedy. It's a problem. So let's go back to the source of the problem, identify it, and then see if we can find a solution for it. The source of the problem starts in Sefer Bamidbar and Parsha Shlach, where the Meraglim went to go and spy out Eretz Yisrael. So there they went, and it says Shlach Lecha Anashim. The parsha begins with problems, right? We already know by Dabar Sham Moshe Lemor Shlach Lecha Anashim Yasuru Es Eretz Kanaan. So there we already have an issue. Why? Because either they went because they were going to spy out the land and see if they were going to come, or they're going to say, well, we're looking for the weakness where we're going to attack, where we're going to enter Eretz Yisrael. And that's the difference, of course, between the spies of Yeshua and the spies of Moshe, where it wasn't a shaila anymore by Yeshua. The May Yeshua was obvious that they were going in, no matter what. And the purpose of the spies is to go find the weakness, to go find the places that it's best to attack. And then, when we come back to the spies of Moshe, the previous spies, these spies, went with a different approach. A question of if. Once you have safek, if, maybe, I'm not sure, you have the Yetzer Hara, because the gematria of safek is Amalek. The idea here is that they spoke Lashon Hara about, everyone talked about Lashon Hara between each other. What about the Lashon Hara of Eretz Yisrael? Right? Here we say, Vayitziu Dibas Ha'oretz. Pasuk Lamed Beis says, Vayitziu Dibas Ha'oretz Asher Toru Osal Bnei Yisrael Limor. And I'll translate for everyone, don't worry. Ha'oretz Asher Avarnu Val Asur Osa Eretz Ocheles Yosheveahi V'chol Am Asher Hinu B'soicha Anshe Midois. It says there in the Pasuk Lamed Beis 13:32 that that's really strange. Oh, okay, no, sorry. The 13:32 that and they took out slander against the land that they went and toured it, right? They spied out, and they spoke it to Bnei Israel, saying, the land that we pass through to spy out is a land that eats up its inhabitants, devours them, destroys people. And all the nation that we and all the people that we saw there were people of great stature. Okay? So the Medrash says the people of Hebron happened to be extremely tall. V'sham reinu es haNefilim b'nei Anak. The Nephilim were the giants. The children of Anak was the name of a giant, min Nephilim. V'anihi ve'inenu kechagavim v'chein hayinu be'ineihem. And we were in their eyes like grasshoppers. V'chein hayinu be'ineihem. And this is what we heard them saying. And similarly, So the Medrash says they overheard them talking and saying, "Look, it looks like there are ants in the field," right? So they were making fun. Obviously, they could tell the difference between an ant and a human being, right? But the giants were making a statement, right? Saying, "We are the rulers of the land, and you are nothing," right? And what happened? Vanihi ve'inenu kachagavim. When you picture yourself, and this is the etzem problem, Tisha B'Av, that has not gone away. When you picture yourself as a grasshopper, you're sitting here with nuclear bombs in your pocket, with a navy and army, unbelievable, the greatest air force in the world, and you consider yourself like chagavim. You just don't. You have a complex, a national complex. This is where the national complex of inferiority came from. Okay? And what happened? Klal Yisrael ate it up. But Tisha kol ha'eda v'yitnu es koilam v'yivku ha'am b'layla hu. And Klal Yisrael completely bought the story. Okay? Why? Because majority, right? 10 out of 12. 10 out of 12 spies said this. The two, Yeshua and Caleb, they're obviously wrong. Because we go after the majority. And the majority of the Chachamim in those days said, not like Yeshua and Caleb, they said that we're chagavim, we're grasshoppers, we're nothing. We need the nations, we need them to approve us, we need them permission to go back to Eretz Yisrael. We need them to approve us. We don't want to start up with the Nephilim, with the giants. They're bigger than us. We're afraid of them. Yeah? This is the national tragedy of Tisha B'Av. This is the makor, the source of all our suffering today in Am Yisrael. Even though we came back to the land, we still have a same complex, the same lack of emunah. Kodesh Baruch Hu told them, it's Eretz Chemda Tova, right? So what was it about Caleb? Caleb, it says, went and risked his life by separating from the group and went to Maras HaMachpelah to daven there, and he davened there to Siyata Dishmaya against the Eitzas HaMaraglim, that he shouldn't be influenced. And Yeshua was named. First he was Hoshea ben Nun, and he became Yoshua by Moshe, given a special bracha to withstand the Eitzah of the Maraglim, to stand up against what most people are saying today, what the majority of people say, and it's wrong what people say, even though the majority is saying it, and it doesn't matter because Yeshua and Caleb stood up and they said no. They said Lachmenu Heim, right? Didn't they? They said Ach Bashem al timroidu. Do not rebel against Hashem. V'atem al tiru es ha'am ha'oretz. Do not be afraid of them. Ki lachmeinu heim, we'll eat them like bread. Sor tzilam me'alehem. V'Hashem itanu al tiraum. It says there, it says in interesting language over here. It says their protection has departed from them. Hashem is with us. Do not be afraid. They looked at the same situation. They said that the people are dying left and right. So Yeshua and Caleb stood up and understood that was a removal of the divine hashgacha, of the Shekhinah, of the presence of Hashem from the land, from those people who no longer deserve to live there. And everything going right for them is now going wrong for them. And they're burying their dead. And their divine protection is removed from them. Don't worry. Lachmeinu heim. Right? It says, Im chafetz banu Hashem ve'viu sanu eretz hazois u'nsanu lanu eretz asher hi zovas chalu davash. So don't worry. You're so worried about it, right? What are you worried about? You worried about staying? You want to stay in the midbar and die? Is that what you want to do? No, you want to go, or you want to go and fulfill Hashem's promise to you. It's an everlasting promise for all generations. So from here we see the national tragedy of Tisha B'Av. Its makor has not changed one bit. Not one iota has it changed. And we see that the Geula is talui in this matter. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at the let's take a look at what nowadays is really a sign for our times. The Gemara in Sanhedrin is very telling Gemara. Daf Tzadi Ches deals with this Amud Aleph. It deals with this a lot of the Simanei Agula. And the question is, and now in our times, are we dealing in the Mos HaMashiach? Are we dealing with the times of Mashiach? Are we dealing with something completely different? Are we in the times of Galus? Are we in the times of Ikmad Mashiach? Are we in this Chalta de Gula? What matzav are we in? How does that play in terms of a personal obligation? What is it that has changed since the destruction of Bayis Sheni? So there's a lot of things that changed. And we're going to see that today, nowadays, right, the questions that we have, right, the things that we do, that so many millions of Jews are doing, is not necessarily. The majority of Jews were the Meraglim, right? The majority of the leaders of the Jewish leadership were the Meraglim. And they were wrong historically. So it doesn't, we have proven that the majority is not necessarily correct, especially when it comes to national issues like Amunah, like war, like ability to survive, and the conquering of Eretz Yisrael. We see that the majority is not correct. So there's no way we can actually pin and say today, we know for sure the majority of Jewish leadership is correct, and we go according to the Rov. We have a Rov, we have an understanding. We do Tisha B'Av every year, so something's wrong. We're doing something wrong as a people. And it has to be said what we're doing wrong and why we're doing it and what we can do to stop it and how we can correct things. So let's determine what situation are we in now. Are we in the Eschalta de Gula? Are we in the days of Gullus? Where are we exactly in terms of the end of times? And the answer is, the Gemara says, near the top of the daf, it says, V'amar Rabbi Abba. Rabbi Abba says, Ein lecha kates migula mizeh. There's no greater sign of the end of times, meaning the redemption, than this pasuk. As Shneimar, as it says in Yecheskel Lamed Vav pasuk Ches. V'atem arei Yisrael an bechem titenu uferichem tisu la'ami Yisrael v'chulei. And the end of the pasuk says v'kirvu lavo. So let me translate the pasuk in Yecheskel. Okay, Rabbi Abba says that you have nothing greater than this pasuk. This is the pasuk, and nothing is greater in terms of a sign of the end of times and the times of the Gula and the times of Mashiach. And that is that, and behold, the mountains of Israel, your branches shall give forth and lift up its fruits, and your fruits shall be lifted up for the nation of Israel. And it close to coming, okay? And it, as it says, Lami Yisrael ki kervu lavo, because it is close to coming. So what does it mean here? They're close to coming. Kirvu Lavo means the Kates. That the Kirvu Lavo, it has come close, the end of days had come close, when the fruits of Israel are in abundant supply. It is well known that Israel is an exporter of food, that they export chicken. There's all kinds of exports in terms of Israeli food products. You find in the stores of Canada, all across Europe, and even America, Israeli products, food products. In other words, the land is giving forth enough food to feed all of 8 million people, plus more. Plus it has export. The fruits are in abundance in Eretz Yisrael. Okay? So now we see, and what was before? Swampland. Okay? 100 years ago, 150 years ago, Eretz Yisrael was a swampland. Okay? Now you have food produce to produce more than enough for 8 million and export, of course, to Europe and America and Canada. This is the sign, okay, of the Geula. And I didn't say it, Rabbi Abba said it. So now Rashi says on this, he says on this pasuk that there's nothing greater than that. So Rashi says that there's no greater, and that is amazing. What other simonim of the Geula are there? And this is a very fascinating one, right? There's another one. What is it? Gemara brings down another one. It says, Omar Rebbe Chanina, Ein bedovid bo ad sheyizbakish dag lechoila velo yimatzeh. The Rebbe Chanina says, Ben David, the Mashiach will not come until a sick person will seek out fish, and you can't even find it for him. Right? Shneimar az hashkim mehem v'naroseim keshemen olich. That behold, I will go and draw from the waters and the rivers, and it will be like shemen flowing. So in other words, there will be no fish. Right? Fish don't exist in shemen. So, which is oil. Right? You have an oil river, you won't find fish. It says, v'kasiv Basrei, could see, and written after that, Biomahu Atzmiach Karen Leves Yisrael. And on that day, right, that you won't even find fish in the river for a sick person. Why? Because you usually give a sick person chicken soup, right? You don't give a sick person a fish, a herring, right? Nice salty fish. You don't give that to a sick person. Make him sicker. So what is it? Why the person's so desperate? He's not getting the chicken soup because there's no chicken, right? So that's one way to learn. But there's another way to learn in the Chedushay Chasam Sofer that's brought down in the Schottenstein edition. So there, the Chedushay Chasam Sofer discuss what does it mean dag over here, right? So it says over there that the dag, okay, always has its eye open, okay? Fish always has its eye open. And what happens is, she's bakesh, dag, lechoila, that the am will seek out someone with his eyes open, a leader that is clear, that can see clearly, that is a pikeach, a chacham, is a wise leader. When there's no leaders for the nation, when the nation is without the leader, it feels it's a sick nation that needs to be healed. And there's no leader in sight. And there's death. And the leaders that are there are betraying Am Yisrael every day. Every word they speak is a betrayal. In that time, says the Gemara, according to Rabbi Chanina, when that time comes, right? And we've never seen that time before. We've never seen such a betrayal ever in the history of the Jewish people with the leadership. Not with the non-leadership. With the non-leadership there are plenty of traitors, but not the leadership. We always had manhigim tovim, people who we could trust and rely upon, people who we knew would lead us in the right direction, but now we have none. Now no one speaks the truth anymore. Everyone's afraid to speak out. So now we have no leader. We have no one who's willing to stand up and say what's right. And that, my friends, that is this simon. This is the sign that the Gemara is talking about with Rabbi Chanina. So we see here that the Gemara in Sanhedrin is our key to understanding where we are in our day. Are we close to Mashiach or are we far away? These simonim are clear, right? They're very clear, right? Because the Gemara is obviously, when it talks about dagla, it's not so clear that it's talking about fish for a sick person, because fish you can get in the river. And that means all the rivers dried up. So, that's not necessarily what's going on. What we do see is that we don't have leaders, right? So, there's another point here that we said, so when is Mashiach coming actually, right? Because everybody says, I'm coming to Eretz Yisrael when Mashiach comes, right? When those who are in Chutz La'aretz, and this may be painful to hear, but those who are in Chutz La'aretz have always said, whenever Mashiach's coming, I'm ready to go. Just show me when he's coming. Well, the Gemara just told you all the simonim, right? The Gemara just made it clear that the simonim of the Geula are here, right? Since the fruits of Eretz Yisrael have been given forth, and there's no leadership today, right? Who can argue with that? Who can argue with that? So now we see that in essence, that is what's going on. So now what? Now let's look at when Mashiach's coming. So the Gemara does tell you when he's coming. When? So let's look at the Maisa. There's a story over here with Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi. It says, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi eshkach le'Eliyahu Hanavi. Right? He saw Eliyahu Hanavi de'avi kamei apischa de'marta de Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. So Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, and this is the same Daf Gemara, by the way, Daf Tzadi Ches and Amud Aleph in Sanhedrin, says that he happened upon Eliyahu Hanavi at the cave of Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai. Amar le asina la'alma da'asi. He said to him, bring me to the next world. He said to him, do you really want that? Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi said, Shnayim reisi v'kol gimel shamati. He says, have you been to the next world? And he said, Shnayim reisi v'kol gimel shamati. He says, I saw 2 and I heard 3. So he says to Eliyahu Hanavi, he says, when is Mashiach coming? Right, a famous question. Amalei zil shayle ledide. He says, go and ask him yourself. Vehecha Yasiv, right? Apischa, and he was sitting there at the karta. So Rashi says over here that Eliyahu Hanavi was sitting at the edge, at the gate of the city. But what was he talking about? It's really Gan Eden, and it's a gate of Gan Eden close to this world. Oh, my simnei, Yasiv Beini Anei Soiva Chalayim V'Kulan Sharu V'Asir B'Chad Zimna Iwi Sharichad V'Asir Chad V'Armadilna B'Boina Delo Yaakov Azulagabe. He said, okay, I want to skip this part over here because it's not really relevant to what we're saying. And then he says, Omer le Shalom Alecha Rebbe Amori. So Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi says to Mashiach, he says, Shalom Alecha Rebbe Amori, right? Omer le Shalom Alecha ben Levi. He says to him, Shalom Alecha ben Levi, Bar Levi, okay? Omer le Amos Asimar. He says to him, when are you coming? When is the Master coming? When is Mashiach coming to this world? Amar le Hayom asa lega Hayom. He said to him, Hayom, today I'm coming. Asa legabi Eliyahu Amar le my Amar lach. What did he say to you? Right? So Eliyahu asked Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, what did Mashiach say to you? Amar le, he said to him, Shalom Alecha Bar Levi. He said to him, Bar Levi. Right? He says, Amar le Abtachalach Alabucha La'alma Da'asi. Right? I'm going to protect you and your father in the next world. Amalei Shukuri could shakarbi. The Mashiach lied to me, Rabbi Shimon Levi says. Damali Ayom Asina. He said to me, I'm coming today. V'lo and he didn't come. So the Yom Nevi says back to him, Hachi Omer Lach, Hayom im Kolo Tishma'u. He says, I'll come today if you listen to my voice. So the obvious answer, right, to when is Mashiach coming, and I'll come when Mashiach comes, is that we're not listening to Hashem's voice, right? Because it says, Hayom im Bekolo Tishmo, and behold, that I will come when His voice, Hashem's voice, you listen to, the mitzvot. So if we're not listening to the mitzvot, then we're not bringing Mashiach, right? Because Mashiach will come when we do what we need to do. When we do what we're supposed to do, then Mashiach will come. If not, He won't come. So what are we doing wrong? There's Torah everywhere. There's yeshiva. There's amazing things. What exactly? There's Torah in Lakewood and Muncie. There's the biggest yeshiva in the Western Hemisphere. Torah is being learned day and night in the halls of the yeshiva. So how could it be? So what is going on? Why isn't there a redemption coming from that Torah alone? Right? So the answer to that is interesting, because here it says in Gemara Brachos, he says, Oimed Arum B'cholom. So the Gemara says over there that a person who stands naked in a dream, right? V'bovel oimed below chet, Eretz Yisrael Arum, below mitzvot. So there it says a person who is naked in a dream, right? Then he stands there in Babel, outside of Eretz Yisrael, meaning in Chutz La'aretz. It's without chet. But in Eretz Yisrael, the same thing means he's standing without mitzvot. So obviously there's two opposite situations, right? So Rashi says over here, an interesting Rashi, below chet, lefi shechutz la'aretz ein lo zchuyot. Really? What about Lakewood, Muncie, London, Manchester? What about all these yeshivas? Ein lam zchuyot. Ela avon yesh b'shivasa. There is a sin living in Chutz La'aretz. Who said this? Rashi says this. How could Rashi say this? Right? And this particular special situation where they marry him, they show him that he doesn't have the Averas of Chutz La'aretz. He's special. He gets a dream. Right? And someone says, well, I was also naked in my dream. Well, not because of this, right? Not because of this. You understand? Yeah? You're going to go up and say you were shown this, Min HaShamayim, and it was Siman Toy for you? Obviously not. So who are you kidding here? What does it mean? It says, Avon Yesh B'Shivasa. You're living in a place where there's Avon. Why? So the Mashah says this. In Kesuvos we find that a kol mal in Eretz Yisrael, Kuf Yud Amud Beis, it's a Mishnah, and it says over there something very interesting, right? So it says over there, a kol mal in Eretz Yisrael, a filu avada. What is a kol mal in Eretz Yisrael? It's talking about a husband who wants to go to Eretz Yisrael, or a wife that wants to go to Eretz Yisrael, and the Mishnah says a kol malin, right? And interestingly enough, that Mishnah is brought down Lo Halacha in the Rambam. It's brought down in the Shulchan Aruch, in Eben Ezer, Ayin Hey, Halacha Gimel and Daled. Over there it says that Hakol Ma'al Eretz Yisrael. What does that mean? That means it's a mitzvah d'oraisa to live in Eretz Yisrael. And ad kedei kach, that you break up a family. Ad kedei kach, that you break up a family because of the Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael. Where else do we see in Halacha the Kedusha of Eretz Yisrael has such important meaning? So we open up the Shulchan Aruch, we open up the Mishnah Berurah, and we take out the Shulchan Aruch, and we see that in Shin Vav, right, 306, Orach Chaim, Shin Vav. So that there's a siman over there that says, talking about Mir La'akum. Okay, it's a very famous halacha. It says halacha yud aleph, Shin Vav halacha yud aleph. Mutter leknois bayis beretz Yisrael me'en Yehudi b'Shabbos v'choiseim u'maleh berakoyos. Which means that a person is allowed to buy a house in Eretz Yisrael on Shabbos from a goy. V'choiseim u'maleh berakoyos. He's allowed to have the goy sign it and have the put it into law. Shalahem, the Ramah says, Shalahem b'chtav Shalahem. V'einu osur rak mid'Rabbanan mishum yishuv Eretz Yisrael lo gazru. So it brings the Ozerua, and that halacha is that you're allowed to go and make a contract in, it says Kasav Shalem. You have to do it in the Kasav Shalem, according to the Ramah. The Shulchan Aruch doesn't even make the distinction between that. Over here we see that for a special Amir La'akum, they were mater. You're allowed to, normally you can't say to a goy, turn on that light for me. Just stamp. You just, on Shabbos, you say, turn on the light for me. Can't do that, right? Because, or light this fire, or cook this food for me. Can't never do that. Here, in a case where the Amir La'akum, right, he's koisev, he's writing, you're not allowed to write on Shabbat. This is one of the 39 malachos. So he tells the Yehudi and says, write for me a contract. We're setting up this contract right now, not even tomorrow, we're not waiting. For the sake of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, they were matter. Right? So you see there that the Yishuv Eretz Yisrael has more importance than all the other mitzvahs combined. Because no other mitzvah do you see this by. There's no specific mitzvah in all of the 613 mitzvahs that talks about telling a goy on Shabbos to go and do one of the 39 malachos. So that's Amir La'akum is normally the Rabbanan, and the Rabbanan on the Reis is Aser, right? It's still under the category of Amir La'akum, of course, except they weren't geyser in that case. So Chazal said there's a special heter for Yishuv Eretz Yisrael. Where else in halacha does it say the importance of Eretz Yisrael? So it's brought down, Lo saskir eved el adonav. It says in Devarim, it says, don't bring an eved back to his master. So we learn from Chazal that this is talking about a slave who runs away to Eretz Yisrael. It's Siman Reish Samech Zayin in Yordeya. Okay. There it brings down that you're not an eved who ran away from Chutz La'aretz to Eretz Yisrael. And also, the Shulchan Aruch brings an example of the eved who ran, the master who wants to go from Eretz Yisrael to Chutz La'aretz is not allowed to take the eved. And why is that? So it says over there a very interesting thing. There's a brisa down on the bottom of Kuf Yud Amud Beis, and Kuf Yud Amud Beis says, "Lo lam yidor lam Eretz Yisrael afilu bi yisharu goyim, v'al yidor adam b'chutz la'aretz afilu bi yisharu Yisrael." It's and the source of that is also a Tosefta and Perikei and Avodah Zarah. This is the essence of the halacha brought down by the Rambam and also the Shulchan Aruch. Where is it brought down? The Gra, the Bira Gra talks about it in Kuf Samech Aleph, right? Sifkatan Kuf Samech Aleph in the Shulchan Aruch. Yordeya Reish Samech Zayin. That halacha is like that which from nowadays is Bizman Hazeh, the Gra says, right? And not like the Rabbeinu Chaim. So what does the Rabbeinu Chaim say? The Rabbeinu Chaim says in Subos that a kol malin, but no. Why? Because yesh sakanas drachim. There is danger on the road. To get there, it's Israel. In those times, was a dangerous thing. So that's not possible. And because it's not possible, there's no mitzvah bisman hazeh. But even if the roads weren't dangerous, he says, he brings the Rabbeinu Chaim, famous Rabbeinu Chaim of Tosfos. So Amar Rabbeinu Chaim, the mitzvahs rabbos teluyos ba'aretz v'oinshem gadol. Because we can't be careful in them, therefore there's no mitzvah to come to Eretz Yisrael. So there are many mefarshim. The Mabit says there's a Talmud Torah. They said mistaken Torah. You almost never see that. Mistake, totally mistaken. This Rabbeinu Chaim is not what it's supposed to be saying. It's a misquote of Rabbeinu Chaim. The others that learned that Bisman of Tosfos, it was impossible to keep Trumas, Meisers, everything else. It was all mishmash. You couldn't keep it properly. Nowadays, of course, you can keep it. Nowadays, there's nothing stopping. Zaymer Barim Smicha says we don't listen to Rabbeinu Chaim. We don't makshav this day at all. And the Shulchan Aruch in Eben Ezra and Hey Halacha Gimel Daled brings the Yesh Omer B'Sakana, but it doesn't bring the halacha of Rabbeinu Chaim. And the Gra Paskin's not like that. So who do you think is going to go against the Gra in the Shulchan Aruch? You think the Chofetz Chaim went against the Gra? It says they brought down the Talmidim talk about the Chofetz Chaim what wrote farewell letters to Europe, right? Farewell letters. I'm leaving, right? I'm leaving. I'm going to Eretz Yisrael. The Chazon Ish says that the situation in Eretz Yisrael is no worse than Chutz La'aretz in terms of chinuch. It's exaggerated. So therefore it's a great mitzvah to come here. The Pischei Tshuva says on Eben Ezra and Hey Halacha Gimel and Daled that all the Rishonim and Achrayim paskin like the Ramban. Who's the Ramban? Well, the Ramban says in the Sefer HaMitzvos, he says something very interesting. Whether or not Bisman Hazeh there's a mitzvah to live in Eretz Yisrael or not. And he brings the pasuk of Parshas Masai. He says over there, and why you'll see why I'm going to great lengths about this, because there are millions of Jews crying in Chutz La'aretz over Tisha B'Av, and they don't realize they're part of the problem. They think that they're the solution because they're crying. So you go and cry. What are you crying for? Pick up yourself on a plane and come. Why are you crying? Get on a plane and come to Eretz Yisrael and bring the Geula with you. Why? Because the Meissen and Yuma says that you bring the Shechina with you. How could one Jew bring a Shechina? So let's see. The answer is that every Jew comes and protects the Jewish people. Ma'aser Reish Lakish and Rabbi Baruch Hana, Reish Lakish Abasache b'Yardenei. He was bathing in the Yarden. Rabbi Baruch Hana came over to him, and he gave him his hand, and he said, and Reish Lakish says, Sanei Silu, I hate you. Wow, right? Pretty heavy. I hate you, Bavloyim. Yeah? If you would have come in the time of Ezra, right? Then you would have made yourself like kesef. You would have made the doors of the Beis HaMikdash like steel, like silver, right? Metal. Because you didn't, right? And you came, the Dolosos were made out of Eres. So what does this mean? What is going on there in the Mice and in Yuma? So the answer to that is, we learn over there, and we see from Rabbi Yochanan's answer, by the way, that there was a haskama as far as the Shechina not being resting in completion in Bayis Sheni. And that was because Roiv Am Yisrael was still in Chutz La'aretz. The destruction, the death, the killings, everything else is a result of Jews sitting in Chutz La'aretz. Everything that happened in Bayis Sheni that there wasn't shleimus, they didn't remove the shibud malchus, was because the Jews sat in America and Germany at that time and everywhere else. They would not come back. They sat in Europe and they wouldn't come back. And the Jews today sitting in Europe, they won't come back to Eretz Yisrael. But we saw the halacha in the Shulchan Aruch that you have to come to Eretz Yisrael. Why? Because they're called mal in Eretz Yisrael. So obviously there's a mitzvah. If there wasn't a mitzvah, why would you destroy a family for it? Right? And what mitzvah is so important that you have to destroy? Who destroys families? How could you do that? So where is the Shulchan Aruch coming out with this halacha? The answer is that what we see there is kol ha-Torah kula. All of the Torah is tuluya in Yishuv Haaretz. But where does it say that? Where do you get this from? The answer is in Parshas Masai. Lamed Gimel, Chav Gimel. Sorry, Lamed Gimel Nun Gimel. It says over there, V'harashtem et haaretz v'shavtem ba, ki lechem nasati es haaretz l'reshes osa. There's you see from one pasuk. The Chumash has infinite power, right? Because it was brought down to us min hashamayim. This is something that has infinite power. One pasuk changes your life. What does this pasuk say? V'harashtem et haaretz v'shavtem ba, right? You will conquer the land from the enemies, and you will dwell in it. The Ramban says on this, I hold this as a mitzvah aseh. You ready for that? Those of you who are here understand this, right? Or else what are you doing here? You could be in the Bahamas, right? Not to give anybody ideas. You could be in Chutz La'aretz. You could be in the choicest places in Chutz La'aretz. Chassam Sofer says that we mekayim the mitzvah of Rosh Hashanah v'Shavtem specifically in a case where we have the choicest of Chutz La'aretz to live in, and we choose specifically to live in Eretz Yisrael, versus being forced to come there. Now, unfortunately, we get a mix. We have situations in France, right? The anti-Semitism in France forces many Olim, and Ukraine forces many Olim to come. So we see Jews come when there's blood on their streets. But when it comes to voluntarily leaving, they say, hold on, the Torah was given in the Midbar. Yeah, and they forget Dayenu and they forget Lashana Bab Yerushalayim, right? So, and it's very interesting because when you take an actual siddur and you look at the siddur itself, how many times does it say Aliyah every day? How many times? Do you know how many times it says Aliyah every day? To make Aliyah? It says Baruch Atah Hashem Gal Yisrael. What do you mean Gal Yisrael? What does that have to do with us? God does it, right? How does God bring the Gula if you have nothing to do with it? Do you understand the Gula will never come when you're sitting across the ocean? Until you come to these shores, until you walk these streets, the Gula is not coming. So how is it that Gal Yisrael means you're coming? And then afterwards, okay, we say another thing, very interesting. Sorry, before we even get there, we said, right? We're about to say Kriya Shema, and we say, here we go, right? But we don't mean it, right? So when we say that you should bring us upright to our land, and grab the tzitzis in all the four directions, we're saying it, but we're not meaning it. And that is the essence of our problem, right? Because when we don't have the emunah, where everything comes to corruption and the Siyim want to stay. The leaders are not getting up and saying, everyone, did you know there was a mitzvah d'oraisa to live in Eretz Yisrael? Did someone tell you that? Nobody told you? Why not? Because they don't believe it's a mitzvah. The mezalzel, the mitzvah, that's connected kol Torah kula. And they cry every year for Tisha B'Av. They're not crying for Tisha B'Av, they're crying because there's no sales in Walmart. Prices went up today. Why are you crying? Why are you crying for the Gula? Come here and bring the Gula with you. This is the point in Chutz La'aretz where we have a totally different perspective. There's such a thing called Torah Eretz Yisrael. And There's a complete difference between a person who walks these streets and understands the matzav of Tisha B'Av versus a person sitting pretty in Chutz La'aretz, right? He doesn't have to serve in the army. He doesn't have to serve in the police. He has no business, no security, no responsibility. He has to make money, have a good life, enjoy, right? That's what he has for himself. So what is it that he has responsibility for? Not this nation, right? This nation that he's a member of, right? He's a member of, an outstanding member of Klal Yisrael. Then why isn't he coming? So we see the Pesach Tshuva. Why not? Because Sekanas Drachim. Well, today, how is there Sekanas Drachim? Because it's dangerous to get to the airport. Where is there Sekanas Drachim? Again, and now what was the other reason? So you wouldn't have to go begging on doorsteps to come here. The Pele Yoetz says you shouldn't have to go begging on doorsteps to come to Eretz Yisrael, even though it's a great mitzvah. The Shach says a mitzvah rabba kazoi. He talks about the neder. A person makes a neder to go up to Eretz Yisrael. We don't force him. Why? I feel the mitzvah rabba kazoi, right? We don't do it because it's sakana. That's what he says over there. There was a sakana. There was an issue of sakana. He had a pregnant wife, and she didn't want to come. So in that case, we give him a heter, even though it's a das rabbin. And the Pesach Tshuva is very upset about this, right? So he explains over there that it was only because he said the words la lois. The aliyah was only a hechsher mitzvah according to Pesach Tshuva. Had it been an actual mitzvah, right, that he said lador leishet, that would have been different. Then he wouldn't have a heter das rabbin. He would have to go even with the pregnant wife. Doesn't matter. So we see there the power of the mitzvah of Aliyah to Eretz Yisrael, that ad k'dei kach you destroy a family for, ad k'dei kach you tell a nachri to go and write down, no matter, just write it, it's okay on Shabbos, right? You break the Shabbos in terms of the Rabbanan, right? So and even by a ship, we see that the person's going, and he's allowed to go on Erev Shabbos if he's going to go to Eretz Yisrael, because that's a big mitzvah. So normally, the Rabbanan, you're not allowed to get on a ship before it comes close to Shabbos. When it comes to Eretz Yisrael, you're allowed. There's such an importance to the mitzvah of Yishuv Eretz Yisrael that Chazal go out of their way. And they even say a brisa. The brisa says, Lo oilam yido odom be'eretz Yisrael. Every person should live in Eretz Yisrael. That's the rule. That's the halacha. It's brought down in the Shulchan Aruch. Where is the question? So really what we have here is in Chutz La'aretz, you're holding on to Tisha B'Av. You're holding on to everything that is not the way, the derech. It was only the Maharam said he was coming to Eretz Yisrael and he just didn't have provision, he didn't have enough food to come. It was only that. That was the only thing that stopped him. The only thing that stopped the greatest of the generations was the danger of getting there. You just had to take a ship, and there were pirates, and all these different things. You couldn't go by land, you'd be killed by land. We see that today, right? Jew can't just walk to Eretz Yisrael, even if he was in Europe. He'd get killed on the way. So that's true, Sekanas Drachim. But today there is no Sekanas Drachim, because you can take an airplane. So the whole Yesh Oimim in the Shulchan Aruch falls off. There's no heter anymore. What about knocking on doors? Well, that's not true. There are jobs in Eretz Yisrael now. Or you can work from America and sit in you make Jews work from America and they sit in Eretz Yisrael? So you can't say there's no job. Of course there are jobs. There are lawyers making money here, accountants making money here. Even if you're from America, if you make it just teaching English, you can get a job here. So now what? Now you won't have to go knocking on doors. So where are the two heterim that the Pesach Tshuva brings down that were the only reasons not to come? So now they say something else. They said, it says weiter in the Pesach Tshuva. It says further on that there may be an effect on the next generation. And so we come right back full circle to Eretz Ocheles Yodeha. It's a land that eats up its children. Yeah, that's right. That's what people say. They say Dibas al Eretz Yisrael. And I know people that their kids went off the derech because they went to Eretz Yisrael. Really, that's interesting, right? They did a mitzvah that it says that Zoichet Olam Haba, right? Person walks Dal Amos in Eretz Yisrael is considered Zoichet Olam Haba, right? And Kol HaTorah Kula Tluya Ba. And even still, they're saying it's a land that eats up its children because there's no place for them to learn here. No good place. There's no good yeshivas in Eretz Yisrael. No good yeshivas, right? It's the most the incredible number of yeshivas. There are more yeshivas in Eretz Yisrael than all Brooklyn and everything else in all of America, of course. In Yerushalayim and Bnei Brak, there's more yeshivas than all of America. So what is? There's no place to learn. The answer is that they don't want to leave Iskeim, just like Boba, just like the Nisim. The Nisim had a job. They didn't want to leave it. They didn't know what was going to be. And that suffix, if I don't know what's going to be, makes so that people won't come. They can make money. Kol Yachol, Kadosh Baruch Hu can do everything. They won't come. So, Tisha B'Av, okay, every year is a result of Eretz Ocheles Yoshvei, the laws on Eretz Yisrael, and the leadership outside of Israel not standing up and saying to the Am the truth, that if there's no sukkah, there's no sukkah. So what is it? That you can make money in Eretz Yisrael, you have to go. Not maybe you should go or think about you should go. That you must go. To end the galus. The galut is something that is ending now. We see the kates, we see the end of in our very own eyes. And now, Roiv Am Yisrael B'Yisrael. You think that Jews in America are gonna? How many Jews in America now? How many Jews that wrote down they're Jewish that are really goyim in the census? You think that the majority of Jews are in America? Vavadai not. And you think the majority of Jews in the world are outside of Israel? They're not. So now, for the first time, Shemitah is going to be the rice in Eretz Yisrael. So now what? Now what are you going to say? You know how many halachos come in the mitzvah Sefer Chinuch to talk about it? Finally, what about the Jews in Eretz Yisrael? Right? We spoke about a few things in the halacha. We brought down, different sources. What about the Jews in Eretz Yisrael? Who are not avon b'shibasa, right? That's not an issue. What is it about those Jews? So it's interesting because we see, right, that those Jews have a specific task. That those Jews have the task, as the Ramban states. The Ramban says in the Sefer HaMitzvahs that the mitzvah of Arashtim is mitzvah aseh. And the mitzvah aseh, okay, is Varashtim mitzvah tishaftim. Sforno says on that b'schut sheteresh teshev. And the Sforno says in the schut that you will merit to conquer the land, you will go and live in it. But what if you don't? Right? Like today, what if you don't? Then you have Tisha B'Av. The whole difference between Tisha B'Av being a Yom Eivel and Tisha B'Av being a Moed of Simcha is very simple. It's Shibud Malchus. It's the Anachnu Chagavim. That has not left us. Do you understand? The reliance on the nations. What will the United States say if we go and make a huge operation to wipe out Hamas in Eretz Yisrael? Not over in that's part of Eretz Yisrael also, but to wipe out Gaza, to wipe out the enemy inside our borders, right? To kick out all the non-Jews and not Geri Toshav, as it says, who is a Ger Toshav? One who accepts upon himself the Zion mitzvah, the Shulchan Aruch. So it means we're not allowed to hold anyone else who's not Makabel Zion mitzvahs, who's not Jewish, allowed in this land. Kal v'chomer that they shouldn't have citizenship and they shouldn't have an ability to make any laws or any rules or be in any municipality as a mayor. None of these things are allowed to be. Yirimu Rosh b'Yisrael, the Rambam says. And there's a machloikis between the Rambam and the Rambam whether or not a non-Jew is even allowed to walk through our land. Right? The Rambam says no. You can't even walk through our land. At the airport, we send them back. He says, no, I'm sorry, you can't come here. Go back on the next flight. And then the other way, the Ravid says they're allowed to be here, but they can't live here. So everybody agrees that someone who's not a Ger Toshav has no ability to live here. And it says, "B'chol ishim ishe Yisrael mitzuvim legarsham." That is in the Minchas Chinuch Mitzatzari Daled on the pasuk in Shmos, "Lo yeshu ba'artzecha pen yachtiu osechali," that they should not dwell in our land. Perhaps they will make us sin. That mitzvah is a very important lo taseh, because it's the flip side. It's the lo taseh which is right together with v'horashtem et haaretz, which is the positive commandment. And the whole difference between Tisha B'Av being a time of Eivel and a time where it's not just Eivel, it becomes a moed of Simcha, right? Instead of saying Freilich and Chorban, we say Freilich and Yom Tov, right? Moedim v'Simcha. That difference is for Ashtam et haaretz. The whole difference of to get rid of the enemy in Eretz Yisrael. Had we done that in 67, of course, there would be Geula. We would build the Beis HaMikdash. But where do we have to build the Beis HaMikdash? Who says that? The answer is the Rambam. Let me read to you from the Rambam, who says that it's a mitzvah for l'dairos. He says over there, mitzvah chaf, in the Sefer Mitzvos. There's a mitzvah to build the Beis HaBechira, right? And it comes from the pasuk, V'asuli Mikdash. V'asuli Mikdash, it says over there, meaning, the pashtus of the pasuk was talking about the times of the Bamos, right? But it meant, right? It meant l'dairos, and we see that. So the fact that it meant l'dairos means we have a mitzvah bisman hazeh to build a mikdash. So how could that be, right? Mashiach's supposed to ring my doorbell and say now it's time. Otherwise, if he doesn't ring my doorbell, come outside with a light white limo and bring me to the airport, and I go on a big airplane to Eretz Yisrael. That's what it means, right? That's the Geula. No one's ringing your doorbell. And now that you got here, for those of you who are here, right, the mitzvah is Binyan Beit HaMikdash. Wipe out Al-Aqsa. Wipe out the Dome of the Rock. Wipe these things out. Knock them down. Right? Oh, the whole world is going to go crazy. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, and he said, Beis HaBechira, to build the Beis HaMikdash. You think if we build the Beis HaMikdash, first we have to get rid of the enemy walking around playing soccer on the Har Bayis. We have to take this enemy and throw him out of our land. What are we afraid of? We have 100 atomic bombs. What are you afraid of? You think someone's going to attack you and get blown up to smithereens? You're worried about 100 million Arabs who would have walked in yesterday, and you're worried about that? Why don't they walk in yesterday when you didn't destroy the mosque? Why didn't they? Because they don't want to get blown up in the nuclear war. That's why they didn't come. You think they're going to come afterwards? Really? So you don't understand the Kadosh Baruch Hu in His world. That's why we cry on Tisha B'Av every year. Because you're so worried. You say, what will be with the nations? We're like grasshoppers in their eyes. That is Tisha B'Av. That is the essence of Tisha B'Av. And when we're ready to say, Binyan Beit HaMikdash, when we're ready to say, enemies out, right? First step is obviously to get them out. They won't let us build it. They'll kill us and stab us on the way up there. So it must be that we must get them out. And this is the pressing mitzvah of today that we're not doing. And that's why it says, V'koilo tishmo, right? That He will come the day that you listen to His voice. You're not listening in Chutzah. You're learning all day in Lakewood, but you're not fulfilling the Torah. You're learning it like a university, right? Your great university. The great university is actually going to become a university. Did you know that? That Lakewood is going to apply because it's so many people to be a university. Well, that's exactly what it is. It's a Torah university. But to live the Torah is to come here and to Kayim Milchemes Mitzvah. That's the Torah. That's what it means. Not the Limud, Lo Manas Lasos. The whole purpose of the Torah is to fulfill it. And that's why we cry every year, and that's why we're not having a redemption for Tisha B'Av. You see the difference? You see how Tisha B'Av, that when we go and say together, we band together all the Jews from America, stop being all the frumkeit you have over there. There's just the frumkeit, the pretending. You read Parsha Zachor, you go home. You know what it's like when you take an M16 and you're sitting in front of an Arab? Do you know what that feels like? Are you afraid of guns? Are you a pacifist? V'harashtem et haaretz means nothing to you. What does it mean to you? Well, I hold like the Megillah Esther. Very nice. But the rest of the Achrayim and the Rishonim don't hold like that. But I hold like Rav Moshe, it's a mitzvah kiyum. Very nice. If a mitzvah kiyum is, how come you're not Makayim? Aren't you a Oivei Hashem? Aren't you a Yarei Shemayim? So why aren't you Mekayim that? So why do we keep crying on Tisha B'Av? So you see that there's a reason for this. There's a reason why we keep crying. Because we won't, v'tishma b'koloi. B'kol tishmo is what we're not doing. We're not Mekayim the mitzvahs. We think we are. We think, I have nothing to do on Yom Kippur. Well, if you're sitting in America or in England or in France, you have something to do. Plan your aliyah. You certainly have something to do. And when you get here, plan your time for Rosh Hashanah. Plan your entrance and bringing all of your chachma, instead of building up America and building up France and England with it, build up Israel with it. Binyan haaretz. This is something that's kadosh, even something that's choil turns into kadosh here. You want to pave the streets, that's kadosh. Everything you do here is kadosh. So it becomes a different existence. And that existence is kedusha itself. And you cannot achieve that in Chutz La'aretz. So if that's what's important to you, rather than making money and having a good life and enjoying yourself, right? It's time to pick up and come. The signs of the gates are here. Only a crazy person would say we're not living in the Ikra of the Mashiach. Everybody agrees to this. Everybody knows this Simonim here. But they ignore it. They ignore the davening. It says Eretz Chemda Tova Chava. It's trying to remind you of Eretz Yisrael. So every time you eat, you should be thinking of Aliyah. Every time you daven, you should say V'solichenu kamim satzenu, and mean it. You should say V'kapsenu yachem abakan v'os haaretz Bruchat Hashem mekabetz nivchem Yisrael, and mean it. Say it and mean it. Have it have something important to you. Have Torah and tefillah. Have something that nivle be'avarim. Have it come into you. This is what Torah is about. And that's why we cry in Tisha B'Av. And that's why we're not ready yet. But when we come, and when we get rid of our enemy, do you know they'll be dancing in the streets? Do you know that there are only two things that stop Klal Yisrael from keeping a Ratzon Shel Avidah Shel Shemaim, that keep to Hashem's will? There's two things. One is the Yitzhar, and two is the Shibud Malchios. When we get rid of all the nations that live here, that are not Makabel B'Zayin Mitzvahs B'nei Noach, they're not Gerei to Hashem, we take them and throw them out of here. We throw them out of our land. So guess what happens then? Do you know what happens then? We'll be dancing in the streets. The Geula will be upon us. We'll build the foundations of the Beis HaMikdash. That's what we will be. And then we'll turn that which is mourning into days of joy.